Okay, we are on the record in CV 2021-053242 in the matter of Owens et al. Versus Sean Roanhouse et al. Can counsel please announce their appearance beginning with plaintiff's counsel?
Good morning, Your Honor. This is Jason Vendetti on behalf of plaintiffs Laura Owens and Elizabeth Naylor.
Okay, and Mr. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name, but Mr. Roanhorse, can you state your name for the record, please?
Yes, yes, Your Honor. Sean Roanhorse.
Okay.
On behalf of Cactus Construction.
Okay, I set this status conference because I received plaintiff's motion for placement of the case back on the active calendar, and I also saw that defendant's counsel has withdrawn since the parties reached or thought they had a settlement after the settlement conference that was held. So that creates a few issues. The first of which is that Mr. Roanhorse, you are not a licensed attorney, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so under the law, you are not permitted to represent Lone Cactus Construction LLC because that is a separate entity and it has to be represented by counsel. If you were to try to represent it, that would constitute the unauthorized practice of law because you'd be representing another entity. And so I can't allow you to represent the entity, which means that the entity, in order to proceed with defending itself in litigation, has to have an attorney. Do you have plans to retain new counsel?
I didn't have any plans prior to this hearing. As you know, I didn't know what the outcome would be here, if there would be any plan for resolution in this hearing. But if needed, I can get that.
Why don't I ask this? My understanding is that the parties reached a settlement agreement, that they started to document that required some installment payments, and at some point it fell apart. But obviously it's best for everyone if there's a way to revive that settlement agreement. And I'm certainly happy to help the parties to the extent they believe that might be something that's possible for you to do to avoid having to incur additional attorney's fees to continue on with litigation. Have you all talked about further settlement options?
No, Your Honor. I've been out, been working in a really remote area, and I didn't have any conversations with my attorney or my previous attorney, Thomas Baker, and I wasn't really aware of what exactly was happening. We were going to mail one payment because we had 3 installment dates from what I can remember. I believe the first one was for $6,000, then there was another set amount, and then there was a final amount there should have been. When we agreed to that, we were expecting a payment from the state of Arizona to come through at the time, so we set that up at that day during our meeting there. And so the last conversation I had was, hey, is there any way we can adjust that date just so we make sure we have the funds and we might be able just to pay the entire balance? And didn't hear nothing back, so I then checked in, and then we got a letter because it's really hard for me to receive any kind of emails, and I got a letter that he was withdrawing from counsel, and I guess apparently due to lack of communication is what the letter said.
Okay, so it sounds to me like you wanted to proceed with the settlement, but you weren't able to really communicate very well with your lawyer. Is that accurate?
That is accurate, but it was also due to the fact that I needed to get an extension because we did receive a notice that our payment that we were expecting to have the funds to make the agreement, I believe for $26,000, was going to be delayed. So okay. From there, I'm not sure if my former attorney was not wanting to try to facilitate that with on behalf of the other parties with the other lawyer, but and then didn't hear nothing, and then I got that letter, and then I got the letter for this conference just the beginning of October, I believe.
Well, let me ask you this. that you were expecting from the state of Arizona?
Your Honor, so right before this hearing, I actually called so I can have information up to date. So we are going to be getting our first draws. I believe September 4th is our first draw, and then we should be able to pay the entire balance.
Well, it's October 20th though already.
I'm sorry, November 4th, Your Honor. November 4th. I was just trying to think, looking at my notes here when I got the letters.
Okay. So, and I don't know much about the terms of your settlement except for what was set forth in the motion that there were supposed to be 3 installment payments. So, Mr. Venditti, why don't I ask you this? Is your client willing to work with Mr. Roanhorse to facilitate the settlement in light of what you've heard today?
Yes, Your Honor. My clients are more than willing to resurrect this agreement if he can somehow find a way to make those payments. So if the court would like to perhaps, set another status conference for 60 days out and allow us to see if we can't accomplish that, we're fine with that. However, the court would like to proceed, but we're more than willing to resurrect that agreement.
Okay, and Mr. Roanhorse, it sounds like you have some difficulty communicating. Are you out in a remote area?
Yes, Your Honor. We're actually down on the southern Arizona border right now with that border wall project right there, our border fence.
Okay.
And so my service is really spotty. And one other thing, I think one of the main problems we had, now that I can maybe talk to Mr. Venditti, is when we do make this payment, and that was the problem I had with my last attorney, was we were going to make the $6,000 payment right before shortly, and then we didn't know. I kept asking, do I give it to my attorney and he gives it to you, and I felt like I was kind of really out of the loop, and I wasn't quite sure of what to do, and I kind of left it into my former attorneys, kind of their hands, because I don't really know this process. It's actually my first time ever being in something like this. And so maybe going forward, if there can be some clear payment of where to make payments or where to drop off or mail or however to do this.
Well, and it may be that now that you're unrepresented, you may have an easier time just communicating with Mr. Venditti directly. I just want to make sure that you and he have each other's contact information and that he knows how best, because eventually you're going to want to sign a settlement agreement so that once you make these payments that you're not going to have to worry about the lawsuit anymore. It sounds to me like he's already drafted an agreement that maybe you just need to tweak to change the payment dates. But in order for him to do that, you all need to talk, and also he needs to know how to get documents to you to sign and how you're going to send them back to him. So in your location now, does he have your the best contact number for you? Or can you provide that to him now?
Yes, I sure can. If you have something to write there, Mr. Venditti.
I do, Sean. Thanks.
Okay. My cell phone number is and also you can also, if I'm out here right now just because of this contract wants me out here full time, but you can also call I can give you our office phone number as well, and they can also get a hold of me as well.
Okay.
And that office phone number is 520-363-4488.
Got it. And then is your email address that I've been using, is that still valid? The Loan Cactus LLC at outlook.com?
That is valid. That a lot of our business stuff goes to that, and mostly estimates and bids. But I can give you my direct email.
Okay, please.
It's Shawn SHAWN at LoanCactusFenceCo.com.
Okay, perfect.
So here's what we'll do, because certainly, like I said, Mr. Roanhorse, I can't let you proceed with the litigation without hiring new counsel, and that would mean coming up with a new retainer for a new attorney, but that doesn't mean that you can't facilitate a settlement agreement and sign on behalf of the company. You just can't practice law on behalf of the company by representing it in litigation. So if there's a way to keep you from putting more money towards fees and maybe instead using that to revive this settlement, I think that would be an ideal way to go. But it's certainly going to require you to work with Mr. Venditti to make sure that you're in communication, that you are firm in when you're going to make the payments, and that he can get signed settlement agreements for both your sakes, because you're going to want a waiver of their claims, and they're going to want the agreement documented. So
Your
the
Honor,
settlement agreement is something that protects both parties. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't mean to interrupt, Your Honor, but just to be clear, there already was a completed settlement agreement that was signed by both parties.
Okay.
So following the ADR conference.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah, we had an actual agreement that was executed by both sides, and it had specific payment dates in there. So all we really need to do is adjust those dates, but there is already an agreement executed by both sides.
Okay. So why don't we do this then? Let me set a status conference. 60 days is going to be right at Christmas, and I will tell you our calendar is pretty insane from now to Christmas, so it's probably going to be January, but I'm going to set another status conference just to check in with you and make sure that you're still able to work towards that settlement. It may be that you don't need the conference, and if you are able to get all the payments made and you can file the stipulation to dismiss the lawsuit, that's all you need to do. We'll vacate the conference. You'll be done. So, right. But I'll go ahead and set it as a placeholder just in case, because if you aren't able to facilitate the settlement, then what we're going to need to do is set some new deadlines and look at whether the case is ready to be set for trial, because that's one of the things. They don't like us to just have cases sitting without any activity for too long a period. So, but I'll give you that time to try and work this out, and hopefully you will, and you can just file a stip to dismiss if all of that gets resolved. So George, what do we have available for a status conference? Probably more like 75 days, 90 days.
Sure, 1 second. We could do like January 17th at 8:30 or 8:45.
Would that work for you all? It'd be a telephonic conference like today.
That works for me, Your Honor.
That works for me as well, Your Honor.
Okay, so we'll set it for, sorry, George, was that January 17th, 8:45?
Correct.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and set it for January 17th, and I'll circle back with you. What I will tell you is that if the settlement is not successful, then I will need to see new counsel for Lone Cactus by that next status conference, so that, because the risk is if Lone Cactus is, if you don't settle the case and there's no counsel for a party, then I would end up having to enter a default judgment against Lone Cactus, because it's not going to be able to participate in litigation. So I don't want to have to do that. So just know, Mr. Roanhorse, that if the settlement isn't successful, you will still need to get counsel for Lone Cactus in order to proceed with its defense in the litigation. But you have time to do that. You don't have to do that right away, since you all are going to work on a settlement instead. Okay?
Yes,
Understood, Your Honor. Yes.
All right. Well, thank you both. Good luck on getting this resolved, and everybody have a nice day. We're off the record.
Thank you, Your Honor. Same to you.
Hey, Mr. Venditti, one question.